This month we're going to work on a solo arrangement of Hotel California by the Eagles. Every month we vote on a new song, so if you want to help decide what we work on next month, be sure to check out my Patreon page where you can download the tab to this and many other different videos that I've worked on here on this YouTube channel. So check it out if you haven't already. But let's go ahead and dive into Hotel California, and let's start with my favorite part of the song, which is the intro. Now, to start here, we're going to be playing an E minor chord. And to play this E minor, we're just going to take our index finger, place it on the 2nd fret of the A string, middle finger on the 3rd fret of the E string, finally our ring finger on the 4th fret of the C string. Now to pick this part, we're going to use 4-finger picking, which essentially has your thumb stationed to the G string, your index stationed on the C, middle on the E, and ring on the A, trying to maintain a perpendicular angle with your 3 fingers, right about where the sound hole is, with your thumb being more of a 45-degree angle, about where the soundboard and fretboard, or sound hole and fretboard meet. Now, if you need more work with this particular technique, I've got a video that I did with Ukulele Underground, which is linked in the description below, that you can check out for more feedback on it. But essentially, perpendicular angles with these 3 fingers, 45 with the thumb. So once we have that properly positioned, we're going to start by plucking the C, E, and A strings simultaneously with our index, middle, and ring fingers, still on that E minor chord. Then we're going to play the thumb on the G, and index on the C, middle on the E, ring on the A. Thumb on the G again, index on the C, and then ring on the A. We're going to hold that. Then we're going to play the middle finger on 3 of the E, which is still there in the E minor chord, but the very last note, we're going to remove that index finger to be open and play our ring finger on the A string. So those 2 measures sound something like this. Now as we go into the very next measure, we're going to take that same E minor chord shape and just move it to what's called a B7 chord. And the way that we do that is just take all 3 of these fingers and move them up 1 string each. So the ring finger goes up to the 4 on the G string, middle finger goes up to the 3 on the C string, and the index finger goes up to the 4 on the E string. And we're going to pluck our C, E, and A again, then the G, then the C, then the E, then the A, then the G, then the C, then the A, hold it, then we're going to play the C, and then the E. This time we don't have to change anything with the chord like we did the previous one. Now as I'm saying to pluck each one of these strings, again, it's 4-finger picking. Each finger is assigned to a string, so it will stick in that same spot each time. So those 2 measures should sound something like this. Now from here we go to a D chord, and this one's a little bit difficult because there's some variations that you can play a D. The way that I like to do it is quite challenging, but really well worth gaining the flexibility in the finger to do because of the flexibility it gives you for playing other voicings of the chord, and that's something like this. Playing a D chord with your index finger barred across the 2nd fret of the G, C, and E strings, but making sure that the finger comes up so that the A string can be exposed. You'll notice that the way that I'm bending my finger here essentially has my E string going right into the divot of my knuckle so that I can get just enough of a bend off of it for the A string to ring. This is a lot like touching your toes. Some people can't do it right away, and myself included. But if you practice at it, not necessarily that same day will you be able to do it, but after a couple weeks, maybe even months of stretching, eventually you'll be able to get that. Playing a D chord like this opens up a lot of doors for you to be able to use your pinky and other fingers in other places, so I highly recommend it. But if you notice that it's just too difficult right now and you're wanting to play the song, throughout the piece you can use your index, middle, and ring fingers just like this to play 2 on the G with the index, 2 on the C with the middle, and 2 on the E with the ring. This is a perfectly acceptable way of playing it as well. I just don't like how it's a little bit more inefficient for when you want to use other fingers because now you only have your pinky free. So whichever way you're more comfortable with the D chord, we're going to play here. We're going to pluck the C, E, and A. Then we're going to play G, C, E, A, G, C, A. We're going to hold it, and we'll play the E, then the A. You'll notice it's the same pattern over all of these different chords that we've played so far. It's always going to be the C, E, and A, then G, C, E, A, G, C, A, and then E, and then A, which sounds like a lot, but when you're working through it slowly, you'll notice that it's the same sort of pattern repeated each time. From this D chord, we go to an A chord, which we're going to play with our middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the G string and our index here on the 1st fret of the C string, so that this measure, 2 measures, is pretty much the same, just with this new chord. Play the C, E, and A together. Then the G, C, E, A, G, C, A, then E. Now this is where it's a little bit different. We're going to play the E again, and what we're going to do is play the 2nd fret on the E string. And what you can do for a finger there is you can move your middle finger down, or you can add your ring finger on with that A chord. I like adding the finger just so that you can leave the finger still fretted so that you can continue the resonance. So those 2 measures sound like this. Now we're going to slide that ring finger up to the 3rd fret of the E string and play just the 0 on the C and the 3 on the E together using your index and middle fingers. And then you're going to play 0 on the G, 0 on the C. You're going to remove this finger, play 0 on the E. You'll add that finger to the 3rd fret of the A string to make a C major chord, which you'll play the A string next, then the G, then the C, and then play the A string again. And then you're going to move to 3 on the E again. And what I like to do for the 3 on the E here is move the ring finger up to 3 on the E, play that by itself, and then the 0 on the A. Now it might seem inefficient because we're moving that finger, but as soon as we go to the next little section, you'll see why that's so important. So those 2 measures sound something like this. Now as we go into the next measure, we'll notice it's a G chord, and we already have our ring finger here on 3, which is really helpful. So we'll add the index on 2 of the C and the middle on 2 of the A, and we'll pluck those 3 together. Then G, C, E, A, G, C, A. We're going to play 3 on the E, and then we'll take off the middle finger here for open on the A string. So those sound like this. Now the next measure, really hard, not really, it's an A minor chord. We're going to take off all our fingers, except we're going to add the index finger here on fret 2 of the G string. And we start by playing only open on the C, E, and A. Then G, C, E, A, G, C, A, and E, A, just like all the other measures for the pattern. And then, to complete this section, to complete the intro, we're going to go to that B7 chord that we played at the beginning. Ring finger on 4 of the G, middle finger on 3 of the C, index finger here on 2 of the E. We're going to pluck the C, E, and A again. And then G, C, E, A, G, C. And then for the very end, we're going to stretch our pinky up to 6 on the A. Now ideally we'd like to continue fretting all of these other notes as we do that 6, but this stretch is deceptively difficult. It's really tough to get that distance between the fingers. So it's kind of one of those things where it's good to stretch it, try to hold it for a little bit, shake out the hand, take lots of breaks, don't want to pull anything. But adding that 6 and playing it. Now if you can't quite get that stretch, it's okay to release fingers so that you can get that 6 on the A, because that is that final melody part. So those measures sound like. And that's the completion of the intro. You can repeat this intro if you'd like to. It's my favorite part of the song, so even if this is all that you end up playing of it, I think that this is the coolest part. But now as we move forward, we're going to go to the verse. And you'll notice on the tab, it's going to have the lyrics listed if you go to the Patreon page and download the PDF that's found there. And those lyrics are really important to follow along with to get an idea of where you are at the song at a moment. And so I'm going to be saying the lyrics as we're working through it here so that you can kind of get that, the bearings that are needed as you're playing through the melody. So we're going to start right here at the first measure of the first verse. We're going to play an E minor chord, just like we did earlier in the song. And you'll notice this marker that's written with it is actually symbolizing a down strum. So I'm going to take my index finger and I'm going to strum down on an E minor chord to start off the song. But we want to do it just a little bit quieter because there's no words with it, and that's going to be a reoccurring phrase. When there's no lyric written, we want to play a little bit softer, and when the lyrics are written, we then increase the volume to make the melody go more forward. Then we're going to play On a Dark Desert Highway. And the way that we do this is we down strum through the E minor, and then I'm going to be using my index and middle fingers mostly to pluck the A string. I'm going to alternate them so that I can build up a little bit more speed. I like to start with my middle finger personally, but it doesn't really matter which one you start with. It's just trying to get more efficient using multiple fingers. When you're first working on it, it's okay to just use one, but again, I like the two fingers there. So we've got the down strum, then On a Dark Desert Highway. What that is I'm playing the 2 on the A for On a Dark, and then on Desert, I'm playing open, so just releasing the index finger on the fretting hand, leaving the other fingers where they are, which is another reoccurring pattern throughout this song, is only changing fingers that need to be. Desert, and then highway, adding back that finger. Then you'll notice there's going to be some strum markers written. The symbol with the little triangle, or 2/3 of a triangle, is an up strum, so we're going to come up. And then we have a down strum with all X's, which means to chunk. And then we're going to come back up again, and then down, and then up. So the entirety of those two measures sounds something like this. And that should give you the idea of that melody, again, with the On a Dark Desert Highway. Now we go in the next measure. We're going to take this same shape, go to the B7, so we just move it all up one string, just like we did earlier in the song. 4, 3, 2, 0. We do a down strum here. And then we're going to play the 4 on the G for the word cool, and then wind. And this is where if you're playing with a low G, you'll notice that pitch will be different. It'll be an octave lower. So you can play that on the 2 on the A instead if you'd like. But this song definitely works best, or this arrangement rather, works best with a high G. So down and then cool, wind. In this case I'm using my thumb because it's up on the G string. And then I'm going to play In My Hair, all on the open A string. In my hair. So we have down on the B7, cool, wind in my hair. We're going to do the exact same rhythm here, the up, chunk, up, down, up. That's essentially just being filler, so we want to make sure that we play it a little bit quieter than the other melody sections. So we have cool, wind in my hair. Then we're going to go to a D chord just as we played it before. And you can do the 3-finger method or the single finger method. We're going to do the down strum. Warm smell of colitas. What I do there is I'm playing all open on the A for warm smell of coli, and then tuz. I'm going to close that finger for 2 on the A string. If you're playing it with the 3 fingers, you can just add the pinky on there, tuz. And then the same filler riff on that D chord, which will be up, chunk, up, down, up. Now we go into the A chord, which we played in the intro as well. We'll do a down strum there. And then we're going to immediately add the ring finger on 2 of the A. And we're going to play that for rising up. And then we're going to take it off for in the. And then air is not just one, it's one syllable, but it's not just one note. What they essentially do when they're singing this is they like to have the notes kind of go air. Well, they'll have this descending pattern. And we're going to do that using open strings on the ukulele. And the way that we play that is pretty cool. We're gonna play the open A, and then we're gonna play the open G, and then the open E. Very quickly together, so it's air. And I love that sound. Now we're going to keep holding this, but you'll notice we've got the open G now, so it's basically an A7 chord, but still functioning as an A, just that index finger on one of the C. And we're going to go up, chunk, up, down, up. The same exact filler line. Then we're going to downstrum a C chord, so add our ring finger here on 3 of the A. And moving forward with this, we're going to move down to 2 on the A for the melody, which will be up ahead in the distance. And the way that that is played is 2 on the A, up ahead, and we're going to open the A string for in, open G for the, open G another time for dis, and then 2 on the A for tints. And then we're going to do a filler here, but the filler this time has no upstrum with it. So you'll notice it's just starting with the chunk, and it's using that C chord. So we're going to go chunk, up, down, up. So that measures just a little bit different because it doesn't have the up, chunk, up, down, up because of the timing. Now we go to the G chord here, which we're going to do a down strum on. And I love this little line. I don't know why. I think it just sounds really good. When we play I Saw a Shimmering Light, we're going to play 3 on the E, 2 on the A for saw a shim. Then we're going to remove our middle finger for the open A. And we're going to play the open G for ing, and then 3 on the E for light. You'll notice that 0 on the G and 3 on the E are the same. But by having them played in different places, we get this thing that's called a campanella effect, which just means we got multiple notes kind of ringing into each other. So we have I saw a shimmering light. Same filler that we've been using through most of this. Up, chunk, up, down, up. Then we're going to go down on an A minor chord. And for this melody, we're going to play open C, my, and then head, grew, heavy, all of those on the open A. We're going to add our ring finger on 3 of the E for the word and then we're going to play that again, my, and play the open A for sight. Then the 3 on the E again for grew. And we're going to add the middle finger here on 2 of the A for dim. So that is my head grew heavy and my sight grew dim. And the filler on this one is really short because we're just going to go chunk up on all open, which is a type of A minor chord. It's called an A minor 7. And we're going to use that as our filler here, going right into another B7 chord. And we're going to do a down strum over that, which is the same one that we've been playing throughout the song. We're going to play I Had to Stop for the Night. This melody is pretty straightforward because it's almost all on the G string. So after we do our down strum there, we're going to play 4, 4, 4, 4, which is I had to stop, and then open on the A string twice, for the, and then 4 on the G for night. So we have I had to stop for the night. And then the same filler, up, chunk, up, down, up. Now as we go into verse 2, it's really important to be mostly comfortable with verse 1 because verse 2 is almost the same. There's some small variations to it in terms of what happens with the chords, or rather the melody, and the chords remain the same. And so when you're playing this, it's okay to sort of, fix it to how you like it a little bit. Meaning these melody notes are in some ways a little bit subjective because when a vocalist is singing, it will sound very different than when a ukulele is. So as you're working through these, if you find notes that you like the sound of more, feel free to change it a little bit. That's what makes it your own. And the way that's written on the tab will give you sort of the exact melody notes, but I like messing with it a little bit. So as we go into verse 2, you can see some of the areas where it's messed with. For instance, starts with the E minor, and then it goes, then she stood in the doorway. And what that is now we're playing 2, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 2. And I love that melody. We can do a couple things with that. We can try to just pivot our index finger up each time, or we can have our middle finger come down to 3 on the A. So we have, there she stood in the doorway. But other than that, it's the same, right? Because it's still going to go up, chunk, up, down, up in the same filler. Go to the same chord again of the B7. I, and then heard the mission bell. So that's just going to be 4 on the G for I and heard, and then the mission bell is all open A, followed by that same sort of filler. And I was thinking to myself. So play the D chord, a lot of open A's for those words, followed by the 2 on the A. And then up, chunk. So a much shorter fill here because we didn't have as much time. And in another unique way, we're going to be going into the very next line in this measure, which will be open A twice. This could, and then we're going to play an A chord down, but there's a melody note this time. So we're going to add our ring finger here on the 2nd fret of the A string. And when we do this down strum, we want to make sure we're pronouncing that A string a little bit because it goes be, and then heaven, or this could be. And that's all 2 on the A for be, heaven, or this. And then open the A for could be. And then hell is the same thing that we did earlier. And then we're going to go up, chunk, up, down, up for the filler. Then we go into a C chord, and then we're going to do 2 on the A, then she lit, then open A, up, and then open G, and then can add the 2 back on the A, dull. Then we're going to go chunk, up, down, up. Same sort of filler, right? Most of this is the same, just with small variations. To a G chord. And then we're going to play 2 on the C for and, 3 on the E for she, 2 on the A for showed, then open A for me, open A for the, open G for way. So that's right. So we have and she showed me the way. Same filler, up, chunk, up, down, up. Into an A minor now. And then a whole lot of A notes. There were voices down the. We're going to play the 3 on the E for the word the at the very end of that measure. We're going to play it again for core, then open A for re, and then 3 on the E again for door. Chunk up, all open, just like we did before, followed by a down on the B7. And then we're going to go between the G and A strings. I thought then we're going to add 6 on the A. Heard them say. So that is, I heard them say. And then up, chunk, up, down, up. So at the end, I worked through that pretty quickly just because, again, it's a repeat of that verse with some small variations. And you can even create your own variations as you're working through it. As long as you're playing the correct chords, you can play around with that melody in different ways. But now we're going to the chorus, which is probably the most important part of the song, right? Even though my favorite, I think, is the intro, the chorus, considering it's Welcome to the Hotel California, is pretty dang important. So let's go and jump right in. We're going to start with a C chord, and I'm going to strum through this one with my thumb because you'll notice there's no strum marker shown. And then I'm going to play Welcome, 3 on the A twice. And then I'm going to go up, down, up for to the ho, and then I'm going to miss coming down, and then for L, I'm going to come up again. So it's so far, welcome to the hotel, and then you'll notice there's a ghost note listed here. And what a ghost note is when you just use your thumb to strike only the open G string moving downward. And the note that's between L and the next up strum on the C chord is exactly that, a little filler. So we have hotel, and then we're going to go up to 5 on the A, cal, and then I, back on 3, and then fornya. What we do is we play a G chord, but we then add our pinky finger onto 3 of the A string, so that we get what's called a D suspended, or excuse me, a G suspended chord. We're gonna go forn, and then ya, we take off that pinky and do an up strum. And then we're going to go up, chunk, up, up. And so what that looks like, those 3 massive measures, is something like this, right? Welcome to the Hotel California. Now going into the next set of measures here, we have down, down, up, down on a G chord, then such a, 2 on the A string twice, and then for lovely place we go back to that B7 chord we've been playing throughout the song, love, and you'll notice with this it's not strummed downwards, even though that's what I just did. You'll notice the squiggly arrow, even though the arrow is going down on the tab, is pointing towards the G string, which means we need to strum it upward, right? Because it's strumming towards the G string. And the reason for that is the melody note is this B note here on the G. So we need to strum up to highlight that B note for love. And then Lee place is the open A string twice. We follow this with chunk up, down, up. And then the next measure is miss up, down, up, down. Then we're going to play 0 on the A twice for such a. So that stretch of 3 measures is something like this, starting with the G chord, down, down, up, down, such a lovely place, chunk up, down, up, down, such a. And now the next part here, which kind of brings us into the repeat of this section, is we're going to play an E minor chord, but we're going to leave our index finger off of the A string. We're going to strum all the way through that. Lone, and then we're going to play 3 on the E twice. Lee place. And then it's a whole bunch of strumming, adding back that index finger. That's going to go up, chunk, up, down, chunk, up, down. Now from here it goes right back into the chorus, only now it's plenty of room at the Hotel California. So to look at this, this next section, we're going to combine a whole bunch of these measures, and we're going to go plenty of room at the Hotel California. We're going to start with that C chord. And what I like to do with this C chord is we can play it, with any one of these fingers, it doesn't really matter, but I like the middle finger the most because we have to go up to the 5 again. So we're going to go on this C chord, down, up, ghost, up, down. Now that's a lot, right? But it's holding the C chord, and the only time we change it is on cal. We're going to do a down on 5, then a down on 3. If you're struggling playing through this because it's tricky, the trick is to make sure that you're exactly right with the timing and taking it really, really slow. Essentially something like this, where it's just down, up, down, up, ghost, up, down, right? And then from here, it's going to go fornya, same thing, that G chord with the suspension added, down, up, removing the pinky on ya of California. And then it's some filler, up, chunk, up, down, up, down. Woo, a lot going on here, right? Then we're gonna play 2 on the A twice, N, E. And this is the home stretch for this particular section. We're going to play A minor for time, and then we're going to play open on the A twice for of year, and chunk up, down, down. Then we're going to play you can. And from here, it's going to go to the B7 chord with a small change. Instead of it being 4-3-2-0, which is what we usually play, we're going to add our pinky here on fret 5 of the G string with the other fingers in their usual spot. And the reason that we're doing this is because we're going to upstrum this, and this C note here at the 5 on the G is the melody note. So we have find, then we're going to kick the ring finger down to 4 on the G, play that twice for it here, and then up, chunk, up. And that's the whole chorus. A lot going on, right? And the other thing with that is there's a lot of rhythm, and a lot of these patterns are really tricky to work through. It's important to take them nice and slow and get them exact. And that's what's going to allow you to play it up to speed and to be comfortable playing a lot of these rhythmic fills. Remember, they're exactly that, rhythmic fills. If you're struggling with this, it's okay to just play the melody and the chords that have melody notes to them. Kind of skip everything else just as you're getting comfortable with it so that you can hear that melody going through. All of this is just strum pattern filler, you know, the things that are kind of whipped up to fill the space and create the illusion of a band playing with you when you're kind of doing that, you know, sort of sound. So from here, we go into my other favorite part, which is the solo. And the solo is really not very hard. In fact, the chorus and the verse are way harder, I think, than the solo. And so skipping ahead to this point here at the solo is not a bad idea. What I like about the solo is it's the chords we know and have been playing throughout the song. We're going to start with an E minor, and with this E minor chord, I'm going to play my A, E, C string. Now I'm going to use my middle, index, and thumb to play these. And it's going to go A, E, C, A, E, C, A, E, and then it repeats that. So A, E, C, A, E, C, A, E, A, E, C, A, E, C, A, E. Then it's going to switch chords to the B7 chord. A, E, C, A, E, C, A, E. But then it changes a little bit. I'm going to add 6 on the A string and hold that for 2 beats. I'm going to play 3 on the E and 2 on the, or excuse me, 3 on the C and 2 on the E. So those 2 measures sound like. And then it goes to the D chord, does the same sort of thing it did on the E minor. Which is again just A, E, C, A, E, C, A, E, repeat, all on that D chord, nothing changed there. That's going to go to an A chord, do the same A, E, C, A, E, C, A, E, but then it's going to go to 4 on the A with the pinky. Hold that for 2 beats, play the C string, and then the E string. It's going to go to a C chord, just the 3 on the A string, goes A, E, C, A, E, C, A, E, A, E, C. Then it goes to a G chord, and then it's going to play just the 2 on the A, hold it for 2 beats, then 2 on the C, 3 on the E. Then on the A minor chord, it's going to do the same pattern. Ironically, we never even play the G string, so even though I'm fretting it here, you don't actually even need to fret it because it's all open. And then it's going to go to the B7 again, which we're going to fret these. It's going to go up to 6 on the A, and that's how the solo will end. Now again, the solo is just this pattern repeated, and it kind of alternates every other, and so it's really fun to get into a groove with playing, and I like rushing a little bit during this just because I think it sounds so cool to have that. Right, just a really cool sound. So that's my second favorite part of the song. From here we go to the outro, and good news, the outro and the intro are exactly the same part up until the end. So as we're playing through the outro, it's the same as the intro. Only here, we go to 6 on the A, and we hold that and let it decay, and then to end the whole song, we're gonna play this really special E minor chord. Index finger here on 4 of the C, bar the ring finger over 7 of the E and the A, and if that's a little bit too much of a stretch, you can also do the 7 with the ring finger on the E, 7 on the A with the pinky. Whatever you need to do to get this last chord, because it's special. It's just an E minor chord that I love the sound of. Now normally the song repeats and fades, and we couldn't really do that, so I like just ending it with this. Just like that. So letting that B7, that last note, really ring and resonate for a while, then hit it with the E minor. That's a lot of stuff. Man, has anyone actually watched to this point? I don't know. I assume most people click it off by the time the intro is over because, again, that's my favorite part. But if you stuck around for the whole thing, that's all of Hotel California, at least this particular arrangement. This isn't even the whole song. There's more variations with the verse and the chorus and everything else. And what's fun is feel free to try to figure out how to play some of those other parts just using your ear. Again, I gave a few variations in the verses, but there's even more that you can play around with and experiment with. But between that and the solo and the outro and the intro and all of that, you have a very complete version of the song that anyone that knows and loves it will recognize and play with. Again, if you haven't already, please check out my Patreon page. Every month we vote on a new song. This was this month's tutorial as voted on. And so next month, I have no idea what we're going to work on because it's up to you guys. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of the suggestions and opening up the vote. As always, if you have any questions while you're working through this, please leave a comment down below with it, or feel free to shoot me a message on my website, mattukulele.com, or over at the Patreon page that I mentioned. Hope you guys have a great month, and I'll look forward to whatever song we come up to work on next month in next month's episode. Thanks.